next on TNT. One of our favorite movies.
Ah! It's the 70s.
Everybody's favorite rocker, Roger Daltrey, hosts Tommy. Roger Daltrey, Elton John, Tina Turner, Keith Moon, Jack Nicholson, Oliver Reed, and Ann-Margret as Mom. Tommy, one of our favorite movies. Next on TNT.
Ah! It's the 70s, and they're coming back. God forbid.
1975 marked a milestone in rock history with the film Tommy, featuring Elton John, Eric Clapton, Tina Turner, and Jack Nicholson.
Watch me, Roger Daltrey, hosting my favorite movie, Tommy, on TNT. Tommy was initially created as a challenge to society, you know, a rock opera. How dare you? That was the attitude at the time. Who do these people think they are? You have to remember, in those days, rock and roll was all about hype. It was all about pretense and being pretentious and breaking down barriers, and it was very exciting days. Pete was toying with the idea of what it would be like to live a life where your eyesight, your hearing, and your voice was taken away from you, so you would only ever experience life through vibrations or touch feelings.
Nothing to say, nothing to hear, and nothing to see. Each sensation makes a note in his symphony.
And he discovers pinball. He becomes fixated with the shine of the pinball. He goes on to become very good at pinball and becomes elevated into the kind of almost like pop stardom, with all the excesses that go with it, and all the decadence. This film was made in 1974. People weren't as visually educated as they are today.
He stands like a statue, becomes part of the machine.
MTV wasn't around. People weren't making those kind of fast-cutting movies like they are today. When I think back and think, well, who could have made a film that was faithful to the music and to the essence of the original album, I don't think there would have been anybody who could have done that. But I think what we did end up with was someone with as much imagination and balls as the Who had when they did the original Tommy as a filmmaker, and that's Ken Russell, and I think he did a fabulous job on it. It's an incredibly successful piece of filmmaking. Basically, I think what he did, he probably made the first full feature-length pop video. And when you look back on the cast now, I mean, there's Elton John, there's Jack Nicholson, Tina Turner, there's Eric Clapton, Ann-Margret, Oliver Reed. I mean, it was a great, great cast. Most people don't realise that Jack Nicholson is actually in that film, but he is.
Imagine, though, the shock from isolation, when he suddenly can hear and speak and see.
I read something quite funny the other day in an article on Tina Turner. She actually said she took the part in Tommy not knowing what acid was. And I find that a little bit hard to believe, you know. And she's there with a syringe this big. It's kind of weird. But again, I can't remember anything of filming with Tina at all. Can't remember any of it at all. It's because I was blind. I watched blind people, and blind people are very animated, but I wanted to do something a little bit different with this character. So I wanted to kind of make him kind of robotic. So I made this decision very early on to not blink, not do anything, you know, just be completely passive. So that it made the kind of, the things that were happening to him, in some ways even more traumatic.
Young, but not a child.
Through the film of Tommy, there are pieces of music added, and one of the pieces was where Ann-Margret is in a really decadent lounge watching the TV, and I'm on the TV as Tommy. Filming of that sequence took 3 days, and it was a very hot period in July in England. And the first thing they did was she smashed the TV, and all the beans came out. So anyway, the next day they go back and the beans are still all there all over the floor, right? And it's been cooking up quite a storm overnight. They don't clear it up and start again, you know. So she has to get back in the beans, right? And then the chocolate came out. My God, can you imagine how it smelt 4 days later? And she was still doing it. Oh, God. It really gave me respect for that woman. She really earned her money that week. The music of Tommy is great, so I could never get bored of it for that reason. I'm very proud of The Who. I'm a Townsend fan. I love his music. I was just lucky to have been there at the right time. The chemistry that we had between us made things like this happen. I mean, without The Who, Tommy might have been sitting on a shelf somewhere gathering dust.
And now, one of our favorite movies, Tommy.